And the topic in front of us today is about innovation. And I think, on a slightly lighter note, I think the most innovative thing that I have seen today was the fact that just after lunch, when probably the sleepiness indices are the highest, we got a speaker like Sachin Bansal to, just wake the crowd up. And it's not a boring panel like ours, which is going to, put more of the other people to sleep. So I think clearly innovation is something which is very much ongoing. Everybody is doing it. And I think as a group, we will discuss about what are larger innovative themes, what are, the everyday incremental innovations, but equally important. We will also discuss about topics such as, how as senior leaders in leading companies are decisions around innovation taken. And I think the one thing that I'll probably set up, we've been hearing from the morning, the debate has been a lot anchored around the digital disruption, a lot around e-commerce and so on. Fortunately, we have a topic which is innovation-led, and retail itself does a lot of innovation within brick and mortar, right from the origination of fast fashion to the play of, some of the grocery players when it comes to using fresh and innovative concepts or transforming hypermarkets worldwide. I think retailers are as adept at reinventing. So we will discuss a lot of these points as we go in. And we were supposed to be a panel of 7. I think we've shrunk to a panel of 5. I've also been told that we're running about half an hour late, so we have to give 15 minutes back. So we will try and keep it sharp and tight and leave the last 5-7 minutes for questions as might be required. So I think let's start. I'll probably poke the first question out, and the first question is around defining innovation and what do we truly mean by innovation. So can you just how do you look at innovating or innovation, specifically somebody internationally in the Indian context?
Yeah, actually, my name is Shin, in charge of the Sharp CJ. Previously, the Sharp CJ is known as Star CJ, and our inception was back in year 2009, September. So it's been about 6 years of TV home shopping. I said TV home shopping. And get down to the topic about the innovation. I think there are two different kind of innovations. One is like incremental innovation, and the other one might be disruptive or breakthrough innovation. For like small incremental, the innovation would be. Let me give you the simple example. As a TV home shopping company, we sell, say, microwave oven. Most of the people, including myself and yourself, audience, many of the times it regard as like microwave oven is a heating and a reheating, appliance. That's it. But our case is that we actually, when we when we sell the microwave oven, we demonstrate how many, say, Indian recipes we can deal with microwave oven. Most of the time, we show about 30 different recipes. But according to the recipe book about microwave oven, we sell is 54, up to 54 recipes. So the point is that we actually demonstrate 30 different recipes on top of just a heating and a reheating, food. That's a small, example of the incremental, the innovation. And the other case is that, let me tell you about this. As a foreigner, before I came here in India, about 4 years back, I thought it's a Hindi market. But what I realized is that only 41% of the market Hindi. So that's why we officially launched it back in October to Andhra Pradesh and the Telangana market as a Telugu. It's a regional marketing, regional channel. So that's exactly what's happening right now. So it's a kind of, I believe, breakthrough, the innovation. It's a totally different story. Yeah. So.
Vikas, any thoughts from you on this one? So it would be good to, for a couple of minutes of an introduction, and then, your thoughts on the concept of innovating, and how do you, as a business leader, look at, innovate or define innovation in your mind?
Sure. So I run EMEA in India. EMEA is the world's largest loyalty management company, more colloquially speaking, customer relationship management, which is essentially using loyalty programs to drive data-driven marketing in today's times, which is applicable across most consumer industries, whether you talk about online or offline. If you look at specifically, how do I define innovation? It's a fairly broad sort of context, but I'm going to obviously limit it to our business in that sense, and say that loyalty is a concept which is no longer static. So if you just look at innovation that's taken place in the loyalty world by itself, it was conventionally defined as issuing a card, issuing points on transactions, and then having a rewards catalog against which you actually went out to redeem your points. If you look at the new age of loyalty and the new customer, all of those three things are not valid. Nobody necessarily issues cards anymore. Everything's on your mobile phone, as we've heard very, very often through this morning. 60% of loyalty programs today around the world don't issue points anymore. Right, so a lot of things actually happen behind the scenes, which is very, very interesting. And the third thing is you're probably historic if you're still running catalogs and giving people options to redeem, for headphones or water bottles, right? So that's not really where the market is going, because the consumer has so much choice. So there's so much innovation happening just in that very space of our business. But on a larger context, I think fundamentally what's happening is, because of the proliferation of data and the explosion of data that is available, there is, while data is sort of expanding significantly, the consumer is getting a lot more choice, but it's resulting in a lot more noise. And therefore, there's a lot of innovation which is now actually coming down to driving down that choice towards relevance, right? So if retail is all about location, 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 as we say, we think that the new consumer engagement mantra is all about segmentation, 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 right? Nobody wants to get spam email, right? How many people here, have lots of WhatsApp messages and SMSs which they keep putting onto spam and DND, and don't want to go out and receive those messages, right? So I think there's a lot of innovation happening in the relevance space, and as we go along, I can give you a lot of examples on what's going on.
Well, that'll be very welcome. I think everybody would love to hear some of these examples. Just moving on to Patrik, just you belong to a company which is known to have innovated. Its heritage is innovation. You're seeing another world in India where innovation is, what I would say, happening out of every street and corner. How does a company like yours, define innovation within this context? Having a heritage of innovation, and yet seeing it happening all around you, all both in a positive as well as in a competitive manner.
So my name is Patrik, then work for IKEA, the home furniture company, which is about to open stores in India now. We've been sourcing for about 30 years, so we have a long history of presence, but now it's time, we hope, to open stores. So innovation has been a part of IKEA's heritage forever, I think, and yes, in India a lot of innovation is going on, but we need to drive even more innovation here. Because for us, the current biggest driver of innovation is something we call circular IKEA. It's to see sustainability over long term, because we see how we will be positioned maybe in 10 years from today. How a retailer can be sustainable is maybe one of the key issues to be liked. So this way of seeing raw material in a different way, and India here has a lot of opportunities actually, because we see a lot of exciting raw materials like bamboo, jute, water hyacinth and these kind of materials. that are here, abundant, basically for free, and we don't use them today in IKEA. So it's really how India can help IKEA and how IKEA and India together can innovate and see how we can use these materials in home furnishing products and then change whole IKEA by what we learn here in India.
I think it's a fabulous point that you make. As part of a lot of research as well as experience that we've had as BCG working internationally, I think we are also seeing the first signs of what we call as responsible consumption, which is much more about people feeling the pride in consuming something where there is not a byproduct but a distinctive contributing back to society as well as to nature. We did hear from you about a minute back about a totally new innovation. How did you go about this process of thinking about this innovation? What prompted you? What was the journey of thinking about that about the innovation?
Yeah. I think my personal story with Olabi has been about really understanding. I had the opportunity, though I'm a tech guy for a long time, I had the opportunity of working within one of the largest retailers in India as a CIO. And it was during that time that I saw a huge gap. So in terms of what tech was delivering to the retailer and what it was actually meant to deliver. And that gap is what I've tried to address. So talking about innovation in a more general term, I think it's about trying to identify a want, a need, which is there, and then going for it, irrespective of whether somebody else has done it or not. For example, with Olabi, I think we are the first large platform online retail play, technology play for brick and mortar stores. And it was a bit of a mental challenge to actually adopt it. Even today when we go out and meet retailers, people are still a little held back in terms of saying, can we really do all of this online? What would happen if I don't have my internet? And so on and so forth. So I think innovation is about finding that idea, whether it's small or big, and then pursuing it, but always making sure that there is a value proposition from the perspective of who is receiving that innovation. Because an idea is great, but if it's not going to deliver some kind of value back to the users, so it's very important that when you look at innovation, you look at what is the value you're really driving. So if you were to take, for example, even somebody like the cab industry or the travel industry or Airbnb, they really work on a need. They first identify a very clear need, a gap in the market, and then you build innovation around it. So I don't think it's about like, sitting under a tree and waiting for the apple to fall on your head. If you look around, you're going to see a lot of good ideas on which you can pick up. Patrik himself was just talking about coming into India and seeing new materials which are available and then finding ways to use it and deliver value out of that into the ecosystem in which he operates.
Thanks for that. I think that pokes sort of two themes in my mind. I think which I'll use for the next string of questions. I think the first one, and I'll address this to Patrik first, is how do you truly is there a process, is there a structure to assess this need that we just spoke about? How does somebody discover it? How does that discovery? We will talk about the business case of an innovation a little later. But how does somebody actually go about that discovery?
I think you have two drivers of it. One is if you see a long-term vision that IKEA has of being planet positive, people and planet positive, and we need to do something about it. That's driving long-term. But then also we do a lot of home visits. So in India now we're doing home visits in 4 cities. We're spending a lot of time looking at what people are doing at home. We're asking questions and even sit a full day and look and see what's going on. Because you can ask someone, how do you sit on the sofa? And they will tell you that they sit like this. But when you actually see how they sit on the sofa, half of them sit on the floor and someone is leaning like that. And so you have to observe to see what's going on. And then you can innovate both products, but also store solutions. Because I think what we do a lot is to recreate real-life situations at home, so people feel that they're relevant. And as you talked about, relevance is so important. And our store experience is totally driven by relevance to what people have. So we need, in that sense, to innovate our own stores. When we come to India, it cannot look like in Germany or Sweden, because that will not be relevant. So in that sense, it's a small innovation in learning directly on the customer's house and see what they do actually.
Because, so, yours is probably the one part where, truly, what I would say is, the digital or the data side of life. And there is, but eventually it has to translate into something physical. Or it has to a part of it has to translate into something physical. Could you take us through a couple of examples, something which you have seen and observed, which is, has been truly inspirational, which I'm sure a lot of our audience would love to hear about?
Sure. So I'll give you one of the examples which has become sort of a case study on how do you drive loyalty into your store and truly add value to your customer experience. So there's this luxury retailer in the US called Neiman Marcus, and what they did was they actually empowered all of their assistants in the stores with iPads with actual data with their loyal customers' data, and it also included the picture of the person, it included their past history and purchases, and a bunch of other information as to what might be relevant offers and relevant collections that might be suitable for for this particular person. And then when you actually walked into a store, one of the assistants actually came up to you and greeted you by name and said, hello, Mr. Chaudhary, and can welcome back, and I will be with you for the next hour as we walk you through the store. And you know what? I think I understand you're a suits guy, and I've got this new collection, and I understand you're a shoes guy, and I've got something interesting for you here. Just that entire experience of being able to personalize that shopping assistance has actually driven up their sales 7 times. So 7x is the consumer spend of an engaged consumer that went to a store that got assisted with a shopper that had all of this information than one that wasn't. So there you can see a very, very interesting example of how you've used data to actually drive store experience. I'll give you another example, which is we do a lot of work for Sainsbury's, the biggest grocer in the UK, and we were looking at how people come and shop and what do they shop for, because grocery retailing evolves every few years in terms of the consumer's basket evolves, right? And we saw a shift in that happening over the last 10 odd years that we've been working with them. And the 2-3 shifts that we saw happening was that fundamentally people used to consume either certain categories or brands or genres of food, right? So if you went to a store, they would say, okay, there's biscuits here, and then there's cereals aisle here, and then there's the bakery section here, or you would have sort of premium brands on cheeses on one side and so forth. The shifts that started happening is this wasn't actually very natural. You didn't go look at the entire biscuit section and say, okay, which biscuit do I want to buy? And then you didn't go to the next section and say, what do I want to buy? People started buying baskets, right? So if I was a premium customer, I would want to go to, theoretically, a section which had all the premium biscuits and the premium cheeses sitting out there, right? The second shift that really happened was that people wanted to start buying more ready-to-eat food. And again, the first attempt was to section it by, there's Indian food, there's Italian food, there's ready-to-eat pizza, there's Chinese and so forth. We went in and started understanding the insight, and we actually made them redesign. Let me specifically just talk about the fresh food, ready-to-eat food section. So we actually said people don't go in and say, do I want to eat, do I want to go pick up a pizza or Indian or Chinese today? They actually go in, and today the people actually buy by life stage or family stage. So they'll go in and say, am I buying a meal for myself or for my family? So we started segmenting, we just redesigned the entire aisle. So instead of going by cuisine, we went by individual meals, family meals, couple meals. We redesigned saying it's not Indian or Chinese or Italian, it's actually healthy food, protein-rich food, right, carb-rich food. So just by realigning the aisles that way, we saw a significant jump in people being able to come, use their entire shopping trip more efficiently, and then of course obviously consume more in that sense. So two very interesting examples of how you use data to affect changes in the store. And perhaps we can talk later about some offline, online, offline examples as well that I can bring out.
So I can add an example of how we use the customer data, not to be more relevant in this case, but also to feed back into the production. Because of course, any brand needs the core product has to be good, and what the consumers think about the product is ultimate. And we use our loyalty club to select a number of thousand people on each market, and they are getting inquiries every few months about how they like the products they bought. So if you buy something, we then come out and ask you, so how do you like the product now when you bought it, after 3 months, after 6 months, after 9 months? And that feedback is then processed back into the design loop. So we're actually getting good content out of that and can make better products thanks to the insights.
Kenny, a question to you.
Yeah.
We heard about how some of these insights, which could be either physically observed in how consumers shop or how do they keep stuff in their home and so on. In the same way, there is a string of insights which come out from data and information which Vikas spoke about. India changes very rapidly, right? I mean, every 5 years or 4 years or 3 years, whatever you want to call it, with the country, the landscape, the macro environment is changing so rapidly. Given that change, how quickly and how fast does somebody actually do this, this discovery process and then keep innovating all the time, rather than waiting for, something new to come in, settle, wait, pay itself back, and then go in for a next wave of innovation. So with such a rapidly changing demographic, how does somebody stay in touch and make it economically viable?
So we started our business back in year 2009, so it's been about 6-7 years. And let me tell you about this, the marketing, actually it's a BTL case. By the same time last year, what happened was that, we have recognized that our Mumbai sales trend has been, a little bit down. That's what we've noticed. And that time we were trying to, figure out why and what should we do about the little bit of downturn. Actually, what happened is that, as you already know, that the e-commerce players, big players like Amazon and the Flipkart, Snapdeal, they are all, the main stages is 8 metros, right? So it's a direct somehow and indirect competition, what's going on. My marketing team guys told me that they've, came up with a new idea of a BTL marketing activity case. So what happened was that, as you already know, that in Mumbai, Bombay, there are a lot of chawls, CHAWL, chawl, and just in front of us, and many other places, and even Thane. Actually, we visited all those chawls up to 110,000, houses. So there was about over the 6-7 months period, and actually I was the the part of the activities. So 3 times I actually visited in front of our company and other places, Charles, and 2. 1, there's a kind of direct contact to our beloved Indian customers. That's 1. And the second, it's a good way of communication regarding our company and a product service. So as a matter of fact, we were able to get the, as I told you, 110,000 houses we visited, and out of that, we were able to get the 17 new Indian customers we got. So I was more than happy about it. Yeah, that's what happened.
Vikas, any view on that? How do you refresh this innovation cycle? It's not a one-time project that, hey, let's go and discover our consumer today. Let's go and discover how things are changing. You actually make this a part of business as usual. you make this a part of the regular activities of the DNA of the organization. So what's your view on that? How does that actually happen?
Sure. So I think we talked about this a little bit earlier, which is that the consumer is not static, the data is not static, the behavior is not static. You're presented with a lot of choices today, and you have to sort of analyze and move with the market on a daily basis. And I actually think that there's incremental innovation happening with large companies that are large, successful, and certainly take a little bit of time to move, versus there is significant disruption happening in the new age economies, right? So if I just take the global examples of what Uber did, to the whole travel, car, cab market, right? The whole auto industry has changed forever. I read a statistic last month which said something to the effect that there were more rides on Uber last year than there were rides in any other form of transport, right? Road transport in the world. So that's massive disruption, right? But if I take it closer home to questions of saying how do you innovate on a regular basis? Let me give you another example of how we combine, let's say, online and offline data. So online is obviously becoming extremely relevant as we know in the world today, and people are sharing a lot more data online than they are offline. And you can no longer analyze just people's behavior in terms of transactions in a store, because that's less than 5% of what they do, right? 95% of what they do is either online or are things that they don't do, which you need to learn from. So we have this program called Nectar in the UK, where you can pool points across your grocery, across your fuel, across your home, all of these different places, and you can create a big portfolio of a currency and rewards, which we call a coalition. What we do there is something very interesting. We took a panel of 50,000 shoppers in a store, and we looked at what their purchase history was and what their demographics were. What we then did is we also have a tie-up with Yahoo, and we have a toolbar where we can track every search that you do on Yahoo. So we went and looked at what are these 50,000 people searching for online. So what we found is that we found patterns in all of them, right? So there was some food consumption habits offline, but then there was more electronic consumption habits online, right? Which is very interesting. So the most important question, for example, just before Christmas is, should I buy the iPhone 6s or should I buy the Samsung 6? So we actually took such diverse data. We then looked at that panel of 50,000 people and mapped it to 5 million other people who look like this, demographically and had similar searches demographically. We then took them down to the store. When they went into the store, we assumed that they will have similar consumption tastes as these guys when they were in store. So when they went to the till, we actually gave them real-time coupons for consumption in a grocery store, and we identified them actually as middle-aged, health-conscious families, right? You can argue some of us are in that bucket, so their food consumption was in that space, and we gave them offers for those specific health and wellness products, and we got double-digit conversions on that. If anybody understands, just targeting, that is just astronomically great conversions on being able to target. And we sent over 200 million coupons real time when you walked into the store. And imagine the connect of the online and the offline, and you're doing this every day, and every day your offer to every single consumer is different. And that's innovation which is dynamic.
No, that's a great example. I think just moving on, coming to my second last question, I'll address this first to you, Sunil. I think so we've heard about how do you. I think the question on hand is, how does somebody, balance short-term innovation to long-term innovation? What that basically means is that, long-term innovation might be about an investment today, which is going to pay back a little later, but in a bigger form. On the other hand, there could be a string of smaller things that you can do today with a smaller ticket size, but with an incremental benefit. how does, now when you, as you thought about your innovation, what made you prompt to take a, the larger move rather than multiple smaller moves? Is that rather than, making an integrated product, why did you make a choice of, just making something which just makes a client's, systems talk to one another? Why create something, bigger, bolder? So what made you prompt, to take the bigger move rather than the smaller ones? And what was the thinking process there?
No, I think particularly in the space that we've been, where we are in terms of retail technology, it's this very concept of incremental improvements in terms of what is being delivered, which has led us to the impasse that we find ourselves at. So actually, if you look around, everybody has made a little bit of incremental improvement in their space, and finally it's one big goulash of all sorts of stuff happening at the same time, and you're not getting the real result, which is serving the consumer. I do agree with you that now that we have already taken that big breakthrough, now going forward, probably we are going to do incremental builds and so on and so forth, but I think it really depends on which space you're trying to be in. Can you really shift? I would hazard a guess that maybe IKEA cannot do a complete, throw the baby out with the bath water and then start all over again. They'll have to live with what they have, and then they'll have to do incremental. But so I think it's really about the situation you find yourself in and whether there is an opportunity to break free completely. We were fortunate that at least I still think that we have the opportunity to break free and to do something very different in our space. But I don't think every industry and every opportunity is going to come along that very often where you can actually do. So you'll have to go back to smaller incremental innovations over a period of time.
Let me add small examples of a TV home shopping case. The definition of a TV home shopping is we sell product through our TV. That's it, period. And we used to, broadcast recorded, broadcasting program for the product. But now we have daily 8 to 9 hours of live broadcasting with all those producers and the show host. So I think that it's the same cost, basically, no additional cost involved. So those kind of a small addition or innovation is also important, like what he mentioned, that to add the small difference that we can make from a recorded program, broadcasting program to live program. So we are able to get additional like 25 to 30% of sales increase. So it's a kind of a small incremental, the innovation. But as I told you before, say when we officially launch totally different market other than Hindi, is a Telangana and the AP market, Andhra Pradesh. That means that we have to hire new producers and a new show host. A show host, nothing but anchors and a broadcasting staff up to like one language. Whenever we add one language, to our channel, that means at least we need to have producers, new producers, a show host, and broadcasting step up to 30, 35. So it's a significant investment should we have to make. So it's a kind of big scale innovation based on our analysis. Yeah, that's what
it's a good point, and it pokes another question which Patrik, I'll ask you. It's more to say that resources in an organization are always going to be limited. It's not that there's a free stream of money coming in or a free stream of great capabilities coming in. How does somebody actually think about balancing the two? Because there is one extreme which is to say that keep doing the small incremental stuff, but would you miss a big trick? There is the other one which says that do you want to just bet a lot of what you have and put it all behind a big innovation and hope that it is going to pay back a little later, which is a way more riskier thing to do. the answer is probably somewhere in the middle, but how does somebody actually make that choice? What's the lens somebody uses to make a choice of that nature?
I think from IKEA's point of view is that there's such a clear vision of what we want to do, and so, okay, we want to create a better everyday life for the many people, and whoever in the organization that has ideas that goes along with the vision has an opportunity to realize them. So I don't think there's a clear-cut rule that we invest that much money in longer term or shorter term, but when everybody can think along the same line, and as long as you have a relative payback time, it's possible. Yeah? So I think for us it's having the great idea and the vision, and as long as ideas flows in that, why not do them, basically?
Vikas, any thoughts on that? I'm sure you would be facing this at an everyday level, right? There'll be team members who will be coming in and putting all sorts of investment proposals on the table saying, let's do this and let's do that, there's something which will only reap benefits sometime later, whilst others will say, something is a little bit here and now, but, more immediate effect. How do you as a business leader actually make that choice? Because, this is the one thing I have seen as I've interacted with a lot of industry in this space is, should I keep putting incremental money in improving my current day operations, or should I actually, and not just money but resources, should I just take a large chunk of it out and deploy it behind going digital as a big bet, or just revamping my entire operating model as a big bet?
Well, it's there isn't one right answer for it. It is very circumstantial depending on the size of the company, the category that you're in. But I'll tell you, generalistically speaking, companies that are large and listed like ours, have analysts to answer every quarter. And therefore you're quite torn between being able to make decisions that need to deliver quarter-on-quarter results or meet at least your annual forecasts on a quarter-on-quarter basis, and therefore very focused on the short term because it directly impacts your stock price, your shareholders, and your customers, versus taking big bets. I think what happens is what got you here doesn't get you there, right? And that's been proven time and again, especially with the amount of disruption that's happening in industry. Large successful companies can typically take 80% of their bets only on incremental innovation, because that's how they are designed to actually go about making those decisions. But there are often windows of opportunity which I believe open themselves up. That if you keep making those incremental bets from time to time, one of them will become disruptive. And that's when you need to understand which one is going to become disruptive and then bet a larger part of the farm on that. So you keep putting 10 to 20% of your investments. That's sort of the global norm that the Fortune 2000 use of saying on let's bet on innovation. Everybody's heard the Google story of saying let's give 1 day a week for people to create new apps, and Google is not just about Gmail today, it's about Google Maps and Google Now, and or Picasa, and all of these are so important to Google in their evolution that they might not have morphed to where they are and how predominant they are if they hadn't led that incremental innovation. And for every for every project that they've approved, there's 100 that's fallen through, right? And I think, of course, if I could just take one particular global sort of example, the biggest thing that a lot of people didn't see coming, but we're talking about today very, very vehemently, is the mobile phone. So there was a lot of incremental innovation happening on the mobile phone, right? The mobile phone came about more than 2 decades ago, back in the US and all of that with the AT&Ts and Motorola's. But there was a lot of incremental stuff. Suddenly, the entire technology landscape changed, right? It went from CDMA to GSM. It then went, the whole internet revolution happened. But then, then we had those WAP phones. If you'll remember, it used to do and then you used to load a site after after 10 minutes and a whole painful experience. I think everybody kept trying to incrementally innovate, but obviously the company that hit disruption, which was Apple, right? When the iPhone came out, it changed the entire world, because it changed the interaction of a phone from being on a keypad with very limited, therefore, usability to being a human screen which you can touch and feel, right? And to the extent today when, I have a 2-year-old son that basically goes up to the TV and does this, right, if he doesn't want the program to change, right? That's the amount of change that's sort of been brought in. And that's what, Sachin was talking about that earlier on Flipkart of saying 80% of India is going to be on the mobile, on the internet. That's a massive disruption. But if you kept incrementally innovating, you would have seen that disruption coming at some point, and then going in that direction.
So we are just out of time. We just have about 5 or 6 minutes left for questions, if there are any from the audience. Yes, please. So if you could just name whom you're asking the question to as well as the question.
Hi, my name is Ritesh. This question is directed to Kenny.
Me.
As you mentioned that e-commerce is a very big disruption to your TV commerce business today. What sort of technology innovations are you looking at to counter that problem?
Yeah. As you already know that for TV home shopping company, as a TV home shopping company, Shop CJ is, we have faced 2 different kind of the competitions, direct competition from same home shopping companies, and indirect competition like e-commerce companies like Amazon, Flipkart, Snapdeal. And the thing is that NHA, as you might already know, that we do have omni-channel, TV home shopping, one. Second, we do have a web and a website. Also, we do have a mobile application. So basically, we are taking 3 different channels, which are omni-channels, one. And let me tell you about this. To be honest with you, we already know that the big e-commerce companies are incurring a huge amount of loss these days over the couple of years. So my intention is that we don't have any intention to have a full-fledged war with big players. That's the most important thing. Then how can I come up with our omni-channel strategy? It's basically, ABC. It should be based on a differentiation. So whenever we come up with TV home shopping is a TV home shopping site, but you actually asked about the EM commerce side. So that's what I understood. So in that case, we'll do our business with, all e-commerce, m-commerce business with differentiation-based the approach and a product service, meaning curation-based. So a certain level of, the SKUs, we are going to be pursuing not 1 million, 2 million products, but certain level of SKUs with the curated, selected, product. Somehow we'll put our effort toward, customizations and personalizations. That's what I believe. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
Any other question?
Hi, my name is, and I have a question for Patrik. The kind of category that IKEA is in, so how do you, how do you manage innovation? Because, there could be 2 facets to innovation. One is the business side of innovation, or there could be another design side of innovation. So how do you strike a balance? That is question A. And question B, in a market as diverse as India and as prone to plagiarism, how do you innovate to stay ahead of the copycats?
Oh, it's a little bit noisy, but can you
Second question was,
Yeah, is it any better?
So the second one I basically heard. The first
So
one I did not hear.
is it any better?
Yeah.
Yeah. So so I had 2 questions. The first question is, IKEA, the kind of category they are in, how do you strike a balance between innovation, as in the design innovation, and the business side of business that you are in? That is question 1. And question 2, India is very, very diverse. It's a very, very different place than any other, European country. And it is, quite prone to plagiarism and copying of ideas or, something like that. So how do you innovate to stay ahead of the race?
I think if we start with the second one then about how to stay ahead of the game in a market as diverse as India. First of all, for us we have a very strong supply setup. We own the whole process from design. Actually, we affect the raw material. We design, we transport, and we sell ourselves. So we have a very solid control over the whole. So we can have a very high quality at a great price. So first of all, we have that starting point. And then it's about for us to learn about the individual markets. Because India, as I say, is very different. There will be different setups in the different stores in India. However, most people actually have the same needs in general. They sleep, they eat, they store, and so on. So it's kind of similar. What differs is where they do it, and a little bit some how part. So for us, it's to study, for example, basic things like where are people storing shoes at home? Okay, it's in Portugal, it might be in the bedroom. In Sweden, it's in the hallway. In Russia, you store it outside the door. And these things we need to learn about India so we can be relevant. But it's not always about introducing new products. It's more about solving a problem in the way that is relevant to the local market. So even with the global range, we can be very relevant to a local market. But then, of course, there are products that are needed in different areas of India, which is not needed in Sweden or Germany. Maybe an idli cooker is more relevant in the south, a chapati frying pan in the north, where we don't have normally. So that's about those things we need to figure out. So relevance, very important, but we can do it with a global supply chain anyway, because the needs are similar. The first question, again, sorry?
First question is, how do you balance innovation between
Business.
investing on the design side versus the business side?
Yeah, I think for us, the vision is very clear where we have to head, and all the little business, all the innovations we do are leading toward a better business one day, we believe. And if we don't keep on investing in raw material setups, if we don't invest in new materials that are more sustainable, if we don't invest in designs that are made to, at the end of the life of the product, that we can take back the materials, long term, we don't believe that we can be a successful company. So today, a lot of effort is going into making things that will be good maybe 7 or 8 years from today. Because today, it's maybe not needed to be there, because the world is not there. But we have a strong belief that if we want to be successful over time, we need to invest in these changes and this innovation. So it's about staying alive long term, and that's why we have to invest today.
I'm sorry, we've just run out of time. So, thank you very much to the panel. Thank you very much, audience. Any other questions that you have, kindly take those offline. Thanks a lot.